Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
The prequel to the 1949 motion picture The Third Man, Orson Welles in The Lives of Harry Lime. This episode of the program from November 16th, 1951, as we hear con artist Harry Lime in an episode entitled In Pursuit of a Ghost.
Presenting Orson Welles as the Third Man. The Lives of Harry Lime. The fabulous stories of the immortal character originally created in the motion picture The Third Man, with zither music by Anton Karas.
You come in the theater just as the curtain's going up. The band's playing something exciting, Latin American. The stage is alive with color and dancing against the background of a marketplace in Central America. Suddenly, someone with a Spanish accent as broad as the East River shouts, El General, and everything comes to a halt. El General sweeps in wearing a broad sash, handlebar mustache, and a big menacing frown that scares nobody. He mutters something about La Revolucion. A couple of shots ring out, a few chorus boys drop gracefully to the ground, and the entire company breaks into the first big production number. But revolutions aren't like that. There's no music playing, no scantily clad dances, no comics. The guns have real bullets in them. I know, because I was mixed up in one of them. I'll tell you about it.
And now, Orson Welles as Harry Lime, the Third Man in Pursuit of a Ghost.
There's no sense in identifying the Central American country where I found myself in the fall of 45. Any of those who were involved in the revolution are still alive, of course, and I've caused enough trouble. Anyway, I was in a waterfront cafe in the tiny country's capital, and there were only two of us at the bar, yours truly, Harry Lime, and a derby-hatted little Englishman who looked about as much at home as a burlesque queen at a church picnic.
Oh. How about having a little drink with me, Governor?
Oh, thanks. I don't like drinking alone either.
Oh, American, eh?
Yeah.
I thought for a mo' you were English.
Sorry to disappoint you.
Oh, it don't make no difference. Thought I was hoping for a word about home. What'll it be, Governor?
No, scotch, if I have any more.
Hi there, matey. How about finding a little scotch for the gentleman here? Scotch para el caballero.
Sí, señor. Scotch para el norteamericano. Pronto, señor.
Ah, gracias, amigo.
You never learned that lingo in petticoat lane, old man.
You're right there, you are. I've been in this blooming country for 10 years now. There's plenty of brass here, I can tell you that, I can.
Honey, I've heard of this stuff. It's been a long time since I had my hands on it.
Oh, down on your uppers a bit, eh, Governor?
You said it, man. You said it.
Scotch, señor.
Thanks, gracias.
No trouble was it, señor. No trouble.
Well, here's to your increased fortunes,
And to
Governor.
yours. You've been here a long time. You might be able to steer a fellow onto a good thing.
There's no way of making an easy living here, there ain't. The blinking government controls all the gambling, the lotteries, the casinos, everything. And if the revolution succeeds, it'll be worse.
Revolution?
Oh, maybe I shouldn't have let that little bit of information
It's
slip.
all right. I don't go around talking. How'll it be worse?
Well, it's this way, Governor. For a long time now, a bloke they calls General Valdez has been brewing a spot of trouble. He's a rough customer, he is. But up till now, he ain't had the money to buy arms and ammunition and hire soldiers.
And now he's got the money.
No, that he has. A gent from the States is financing him.
American financing revolution?
One of them blokes you call gangsters up in the States. He'll have a good thing, he will.
Still, he's taking an awful chance. If the revolution fails, he'll be facing a firing squad.
Not bloody likely. He's too smart for that. The way I hears it, he comes down here, he makes his deal with General Valdez, and then he hightails it out of the country, goes to Havana or someplace to wait it out until Valdez is sitting in the driver's seat.
He's left the country, eh?
That's right, Governor.
I suppose he stands pretty well with the revolutionists. You know, I used to know a few guys who were mixed up in the rackets back in the States. I wonder if I happen to know the general's friend.
The one who's financing the revolution?
Yeah, do you happen to know his name?
No, that I don't. Down here, they just call him El Zorro. It means the fox, and he's that all right, I guess.
The way I saw it, this New York gangster wasn't going to be the only foxy guy to make a good thing out of the revolution. The important thing was to make contact with General Valdez first. Half a dozen different kinds of pitches went through my mind as I headed for his stronghold.
You are a friend to El Zorro?
That's right. I'm glad we're both on the same team. I'd hate to have a fight with you.
Huh?
You're the biggest and strongest looking fellow I ever saw outside of a sideshow.
You are a friend of El Zorro, huh?
He told me to come down here from New York. We were pals together back there. I guess he had some sort of job lined up for me. I'd like to talk to General Valdez about it.
All right. General Valdez will speak to a friend of El Zorro. Follow.
¿Quién?
Es José, el general.
Entre usted, por favor.
This senor is friend to El Zorro. He tell him to come here.
He told you to come here?
They were close friends in New York.
I see.
He wrote me all about you. Said he thought we'd speak the same language. We ought to get acquainted.
When did he write to you?
Oh, well, it was quite a little while ago, but I was tied up when the letter came. I got down here as soon as I could.
You were tied up?
Well, the truth of the matter is I was broke. I had a hard time raising the price of the passage, but I figured if there was anything I could do to help a friend of El Zorro,
You're still broke?
Stony, old man.
Yeah. Jose, get $200 from the safe. Give it to Senor...
Lime, Harry Lime, and I certainly appreciate the,
we will not mention
promptness.
it, though money is very scarce with us just now.
Scarce? I thought El Zorro gave you all the money you needed before he left for Havana.
So, it is to Havana he's gone.
Yeah, sent me a postcard from there. It was forwarded here. Great guy.
We do not think he's such a great guy.
What?
Here's the money, senor.
Well, thanks. What's the trouble between you and El Zorro?
He's a very clever man. We made an agreement. Perhaps one you knew about.
Oh, sure.
He was to finance half of the revolutions, my compatriots, the rest.
Yeah, sure, I knew all about that.
He was to handle the fighting. He was to take care of the finances, the procurement of guns and ammunition.
$1 million that we have collect, we turn over to him.
And by morning, he had disappeared. So he's in Havana, eh?
Well, that's what I heard, but
You will go to Havana and bring him back.
A what?
You will need money in your pocket, of course. That is why we have given you part of what little we have left. But you will not double-cross us. You will be watched at every moment. Should you make one false move, a bullet will enter your back.
Look, I think I ought to tell you something. I'm not a friend of his. I never met him in my life. I don't even know what he looks like.
It's a big joke,
Senor Lime is very comic, gentleman.
Not being funny, I never heard of this guy until this morning. Cockney I met in a bar told me about him. The bartender, remember? It was a little cafe near the Plaza de Madrid. It had roosters painted on the walls.
Cafe El Gallo.
Yes, that was its name. Just ask the bartender.
To prove our fairness, I will make Jose make inquiries about the imaginary Cockney when he drives you back to your hotel. But you're not making things easier for yourself by denying your friendship for El Zorro.
When you check up on my story that I met this...
I will save my breath, Senor Lime. Jose will drive you back to your hotel now so you can get some rest. You will need it.
When the gargantuan Jose dropped me at the hotel, I went in one door and out the other, and then I hurried to the railway depot, bought a ticket on the first train out, which wasn't until 3 a.m. Wandered for a few blocks until I saw the reassuring sign, Polizia. Never had any love for the police, but now they represented some protection from General Valdez. After all, he was a revolutionist, an outlaw. Thought gave me a little comfort. I headed into a nightclub across the street and sat down amidst chattering cocktail drinkers. Hadn't been there long when my eyes were suddenly drawn to one of the most seductively beautiful women I've ever seen. She was a tall, slender brunette. She was sitting alone. There was invitation in her eyes. I armed myself with a couple of glasses of champagne, one in each hand, and walked over to a table. You know, it's strictly against the law for beautiful women to sit alone in bar rooms without a drink.
I was waiting for a friend.
Well, I'm very friendly. I come bearing champagne. If I sat down, would you scream for the manager?
I would not scream very loud. It is bad for my voice.
Ah, you're a singer. I knew it. It was your artistic appearance that appealed to me. That's really why I made like a St. Bernard.
Well, I would like a drink, but you look more like El Lobo to me than a St. Bernard. El Lobo is the wolf in Spanish.
You don't like wolves in any language, no?
No, I don't mind. as long as their claws are not too sharp. Some girls pretend they do not like the roving males, but women are all complimented by attention. I like woos like you.
I love your frankness. What's your name?
I am Consuelo. And you?
Harry. To Consuelo and Harry. You're wonderful, Consuelo. If I didn't have quite so much on my mind,
Oh, poor Harry. You big American businessmen are all alike. All the time you must worry about money matters. There are other things in life. And anyway, worry does no good.
Oh, you're right. All the worry in the world can't change a thing. We'll have another drink.
No.
Consuelo?
No, I'm afraid to drink any more on, how you say, an empty stomach. I might lose my head.
Well, let's have dinner together first, and then both lose our heads.
Are you a good sport, Harry?
What's up?
You come with me to my little apartamento, and I will cook for you a real Spanish dinner. Something you cannot get in a restaurant. It is made with chicken and rice and white wine.
Sounds like quite a dish, Consuelo. May I say the same for you? When she'd given the cab driver her address, Consuelo slithered back in the seat and melted in my arms. This was all to the good. But I started to ask myself why the most beautiful woman in the world had gone for me like it was a combination of Clark Gable and John D. Rockefeller, with the best features of each. I opened my eyes, only I didn't look at Consuelo. I looked at the driver in the front seat. Even from the back, I recognized him. Driver!
Oh, what is the matter, darling?
I want to see what the driver looks like. Turn your face around this way, driver.
Si, Senor Lime. Anything to oblige.
Jose, it's like I thought.
Well, you should have begun to think before you bought the ticket at the railway station.
Taken in by the oldest Dodge in the world, Harry Lime.
Now, do not let us forget our manners, darling.
I walked right up to you. You didn't even have to wiggle your little finger. Why are you taking me in this rattletrap, Jose?
Oh, not far in this, Senor Lime. But this is only the first leg of your journey to Havana.
Still the same old record, huh? Did you find out at the cafe that I was telling the truth about the Cockney?
I made inquiries all over concerning a Cockney. General Valdez is right. There is none in town.
The bartender, what did he say? Didn't he remember me?
See, he remembered you well. He said you drink scotch.
Yes, I drink scotch, but...
He said you were in there all alone. You did not talk to anyone in the cafe.
Well, the whole thing's a dirty frame. I'm not taking it. I'm going to...
Oh, Jose, you hit him so hard.
This time it was with my fist. Perhaps next time it will be with a bullet. We see how he behaved in Havana.
November 16th, 1951, Orson Welles, The Lives of Harry Lime on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. On Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, more of Orson Welles and The Lives of Harry Lime in Pursuit of a Ghost, November 16th, 1951.
Everything was blackened and purple, with nice little polka dots of green light. This went on for a couple of thousand years. Then I realized I was lying down and the bed was soft, but it kept pitching, sliding out from under me. I could feel the throb of a ship's motor.
He's waking up, General.
For a while I thought you never would.
I hate pulling a line as old as this, but where am I?
We are on our way to Havana, Senor.
Yeah, I guess that. But this ship.
A private yacht a friend was kind enough to lend us. We are the only passengers aboard, and the crew are all very loyal to me.
That should answer what you really want to know.
You're going ashore to find your friend, to bring him and the money back here. Jose and I will wait on the yacht for you.
Jose's a very rough-looking customer. Yes, Jose, I think you could influence my friend more easily than I.
Neither Jose nor I dare show our faces in Havana. Were our presence known there, it would ruin everything. No, Senor Lime, you will do the job for us. That you will be watched by our friends, watched every second of the time.
Look, old man, this whole thing is pretty silly. I don't even know the man I'm supposed to find.
The statement is ridiculous. We will not go into that again.
All right, so he's my pal. I'm supposed to get him to leave Havana and come aboard this yacht. Do you mind telling me how I do it?
That is your problem, senor. But I can tell you this. If you fail, you will not live past tomorrow night.
By 2 in the afternoon, I checked in at the Hotel Nacional, wandered along the Prado looking at all the sidewalk tables for somebody who might look like a resourceful New York gangster. And I'd consumed half a dozen daiquiris at Sloppy Joe's, but I wasn't any closer to the solution of my problem. Finding a man I didn't know, making friends with him, and persuading him to tuck $1 million in his pocket and come aboard a strange yacht. But if I didn't get back to the yacht with him, well, there wasn't any sense in speculating on that. I'd seen the look in Valdez's eyes. The general was playing for keeps. I walked for endless miles. I took buses. I traveled by cab. Finally, at 3 a.m., I landed about 4 miles out of the city on a little street they call Hot Dog Alley, a sort of skid row lined with Roomba palaces. And there, at a table in one of the noisiest of the joints, I saw him. I knew it was him, tall, dark, and just reeking with rotten money. Also sitting beside him, holding his hand and nuzzling up to him, was Consuela. She was looking straight at me and not making any sign of recognition, so I took my cue from her, wandered over to the table, ignored Consuela, and stood looking down at him. Hi there.
Yeah?
Oh, I thought for a minute there I recognized you. Maybe I've seen you someplace. Do you happen to be from New York?
Go away. Can't you see I'm busy with a lady?
Funny, you sound like a New Yorker.
Okay, so I'm a New Yorker. A scram.
Anything you say, El Zorro.
Eh? Where'd you get that name?
We can talk about where I got it if you really want to be a little friendly.
Okay, so we'll talk. Only this ain't the place. I'll get rid of the babe and meet you somewhere where we can be alone. Where you stopping?
Nacional.
Go back there and go to your room. I'll call you in an hour or so. Who do I ask for?
Harry Lime. Be waiting for your call, pal. Who is it?
It is Consuelo. Let me in.
All right, babe. So now you're in. Comes next.
Please, we have not much time. Please do not fight with me. I did not know they were bad men, honestly. They said it was some sort of a joke on you, that you were a big businessman and you were working too hard, that they had planned for you a little vacation and you did not want to go.
And then you flew down here ahead of me to help me enjoy my vacation, only you happened to bump into El Zorro before I got here. General doesn't even know you're here, huh? Checking up on El Zorro and me.
Oh, you fool. They do not know that I am in Havana. They double-cross me. They do not pay me. So I fly down here for myself, like you say, on my own. I want that money.
Looks like money's going to be a very popular thing. What am I supposed to do, steal it for you?
Listen, Harry. El Zorro dropped me near where he thinks I live about 10 minutes ago. He was going back to his hotel to call you.
What's his real name? What hotel's he at?
His real name is Pietro. He calls himself Pete. He's staying at the La Paz. And he keeps the money right in his room. I know that.
So?
When he calls, you get him to meet you here. You keep him away from his hotel for half an hour. And I get the money.
How nice.
Then, you lose him somewhere. You meet me at the airport. We get a private plane. And we fly to Europe. Just you and me.
You and me and $1 million, Makes a pretty picture. Okay.
Harry, what is wrong? Why are you looking at me like that? Don't you trust me, Harry?
What do you think? Of course I trusted her. About as far as I could throw the Hotel Nacional. Consuelo is a beautiful girl, but nobody's that beautiful. I have a very good nose for a frame-up. I could smell this one a mile away. You may think I'm fussy, but I don't like being played for a sucker. Twice. So I gave the lady time to get started, and then I put in a call. Hello? Hello, Pete?
Yeah?
Harry Lime speaking.
What do you want?
$100,000, Pete.
Quit your kidding. What's all this about?
Oh, we're fellow Americans, Pete. I want to do you a favor.
For $100,000?
I know about the $1 million, Pete. I also know that General Valdez and his boys have followed you down here.
Yeah?
They know where you've got the dough, Pete.
Is this on a level?
Not only that, they've got every means of escape all corked up. You're not getting out of here, Pete. Not without my help.
What can you do, Lime?
I can get you out of Cuba alive. I want a fast answer, old man. Let's not quibble over money. You're getting a bargain, $100,000. I slip you out of Cuba into some spot where you'll be safe. I have my own yacht And a crew I can trust.
How do I know you're telling the truth?
Easy, because I'm giving you my first tip-off for free. That girl you were with tonight.
Yeah?
Well, old man, she's one of the gang. She's on her way to your place now. Wait 10 minutes, then leave your hotel, give her a chance to get in, then go back. You'll find her going through your things.
Dirty little...
I'll give you a chance to settle things with her, and then I'll call for you. Have your things with you, including my $100,000.
It's a deal, Harry Lime. You're a pal.
November 16th, 1951, The Lives of Harry Lime on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of The Lives of Harry Lime, starring Orson Welles, In Pursuit of a Ghost, November 16th, 1951.
There was a big crowd outside the La Paz Hotel by the time I got there. It seems a beautiful girl had been arrested robbing a room. The police took her away. Bye-bye, Consuelo. Peter was waiting on the corner. He got in my cab. A few minutes later, we were in a tender, heading for my yacht.
I appreciate this, Harry.
Oh, that's all right.
There ain't many guys that do this, not even for 100 G's. Here, want to count it? 100 bills, $1,000 each.
No, old man, I'll check it later. That's the rest of it in the black bag?
Sure, I'd bring all the dough. You don't worry, I'd leave it in Cuba.
No, I guess you wouldn't. I guess you would. Where do you think you want to head?
South America, maybe. I guess I better talk it over with your captain.
Yes, that's a good idea. Well, this is my boat. We're pulling alongside of now.
Say, this is a pretty fancy boat.
Well, climb up, old man.
Okay.
Now, just swing yourself over there. That's the boy.
Hey, pretty nice here.
Yes, ship-shape.
Which way are my quarters?
Go in here to the bar first. What do you say?
Okay, but let's make it a quick one.
I'd like to get some sleep as soon as you show me where I can flop.
I'll show you where you flop, Bill Zorro.
What's he?
And there's another friend of yours behind you.
Who? Where? General Valdez.
Adios, Senor El Zorro. Jose, pick up the little black bag our friend El Zorro dropped. He won't need $1 million where he's going. And you go to your cabin, Harry Lime. We'll send for you when we want you.
I've never been very fond of unnecessary arguments, so I went down to my cabin, threw myself on my bunk. I hadn't eaten since I landed in Havana and had too much to drink, but it wasn't only the liquor, I was tired, too. Dead tired. Dimly I could hear the anchor being raised and the engine starting up. And then suddenly all Hades broke loose. Now, what in the name of...
There is another of the revolutionists. Kill him too.
But I'm not one of the revolutionists, I swear. Please.
Ready.
Hey, no, do not fire. He's not one of them.
As you say, El Capitan, the general and the others are all dead, and we can now see to the running of the ship.
Well, Harry Lime, I hope you're proud of your role in the thwarted revolution.
You're the Cockney I met in the bar that first day, but...
Yes, a Cockney dialect is one of my accomplishments. In Central America, the captain of police must have many disguises.
Captain of the police?
Yes. You see, you thought you were extracting information from me that first day. You were merely following the powers of suggestion.
Old man, I don't even begin to follow you.
You followed me very well. Every idea I planted in your obviously conniving mind. With your help, we have recovered the money contributed by the poor, misguided citizens of my country. We have erased the revolutionary leader from a place far from his henchmen. And El Zorro, who would have been dangerous yet, is now dead.
Well, then I'm in the clear, after all. I saved your government for you.
Yes, that you have, Governor.
But then part of the money...
You will be permitted to leave our country with every cent you entered with.
Yes, but old man, I was broke when I arrived.
Yes. You see what I mean, Senor Lime?
Yes, I begin to. I just begin to.
And now, Harry Lime.
My only comfort was the cozy feel of a roll of greenbacks, 100 grand, warming my breast pocket. Ernie was a smart cop, but he didn't know about that. But we do, don't we?
November 16th, 1951, The Lives of Harry Lime on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, Part 3 of the 5-part Yours Truly Johnny Dollar story, The Broderick Matter, a really sad story. Originally broadcast November 16th, 1955.
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
Bob Steele, Eastern Trust. How's New York?
Fine, but I haven't found Lorraine Broderick yet.
How about your lead? What was his name?
Dameron? He hasn't seen her since Christmas Eve, a couple of years ago. She walked out on him with $6,500.
What now?
You, want to keep on with it, Mr. Steele?
Sure, we have to pay her off, even if it is only $1,500. But you sound like this was all the farther you want to go.
It might be at that.
Oh, what did you say?
Look, a sweet old man left a nice little girl $1,500. Apparently, I'm looking for a grown woman who isn't very nice anymore.
Beside the point, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, Steele, I'm still on the case.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. Location, New York City, New York. To the Eastern Trust Insurance Company, Claims Division, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an account of expenditures during my investigation of the Broderick matter. Subject, Lorraine Broderick. Object, to locate her and pay off claim. Results, disillusioning. More expenses. Item 9, $3 cab fare. From the plush offices of William Dameron to a filling station out on Long Island. To check his story of Lorraine's disappearance. A major oil company owned and operated the filling station where Lorraine Broderick had last been seen. Their payroll records named 3 attendants on duty. Christmas Eve, that is, in 1953. Item 10, $28. More cab fare. And don't squawk about it. I located and interviewed all 3. Enclosed fine statement of Edward Quinlan.
Sure, I remember that chick. Better looking than this picture, I'll tell you that. She drove in with this old guy, Dameron, you said, yeah. Well, he hadn't been away from the car 20 seconds before she was out walking down the street as fast as she could, long dress and all. When he come back and asked what had happened to her, I told him. So he went and sat in his car for maybe a couple hours waiting for her to come back. I knew she was gone for good. He knew it too, must have. But he waited. I felt sorry for him. Poor old geezer, even if he did drive a cad. She shouldn't have run out on him like that, Christmas Eve and all.
Pauline Dameron Whitfield, sister of William Dameron, living up in Westchester County, verified her brother's story. Lorraine Broderick had left all of her clothes and bags at her house. Mrs. Whitfield had not heard from her or seen her since Christmas Eve, 1953. A check of the luggage revealed no information that would be helpful in locating Lorraine Broderick. The following morning at the New York Police Department downtown, I requested a missing persons investigation on Lorraine Broderick.
She was booked in under an alias, Jane Brown. When I got to court, she gave her right name, Lorraine Broderick.
What was the charge, Sergeant?
Misdemeanor, drunk, disturbing a peace. $25 in night court, April 25th, 1953.
That the only time she made the blotter?
Yep.
What's the address, Sergeant?
1346 Yardley.
1346
That's 2 years ago.
Thanks. At the address on Yardley, I learned that Lorraine Broderick had moved 18 months before. Again, there was no forwarding address, but the landlady turned out to be quite talkative.
I'm glad she moved away from here, Mr. Dollar. I'd like to help you find her, but I'm awful glad she moved away.
Why do you say that, Mrs. Gaines?
Noisy. Parties all the time. I run a quiet place, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
When she first come here to rent the apartment, I thought she was the quiet type. Nice. She looked like she was just out of finishing school or something like that. Oh, she couldn't have been more than 20 years old. Well, maybe a little more, 22. She told me she was a secretary and she worked in Manhattan. Well, I let her have the apartment, of course. She paid her rent in advance, in cash. But once she was in, it was a different story.
Yeah. Did she tell you where she worked in Manhattan?
No, she never quite got around to mentioning that. Anyway, she couldn't have worked very hard. All the dates she had, night after night, honestly.
Do you happen to know any of them, Mrs. Gaines?
I do not. Big, noisy parties.
Well, did she go with any particular man?
A smart little girl like that sticking to just one man.
I don't know whether she was very smart at all. Was she friendly with anybody in the building?
Nope.
Any idea where she might have gone from here?
Nope. All I can say is I'm glad she don't live here no more.
I went back to police headquarters. It had occurred to me that hardly anyone is ever arrested for being drunk and disturbing the peace alone. I was right. The night court files revealed that Lorraine Broderick had been arrested with 5 other people, 3 men and 2 women. I took down their names and began to check them out. Number 3 down the line was a man named Tyler in the hosiery business. Yes, he remembered Lorraine Broderick very well. No, he hadn't seen her for 6 months, but he could tell me where she lived. He'd seen her going in and out of an apartment on 61st Street several times. He gave me the address.
The boy will take your bags. Will he? Yes, sir. May I help you?
I'm looking for a Miss Lorraine Broderick.
Broderick?
Yes.
I'm sorry, sir. We have no one by that name registered here.
That's funny.
I thought at first you were going to say Lorraine Bradley. We had a Mrs. Bradley here at one time.
Oh. Did Mrs. Bradley look anything like this picture?
Yes, that's Mrs. Bradley.
Bradley, huh? How long ago did she move out?
4 months ago, anyhow.
Do you have her forwarding address?
No, sir, I don't. I wish I did.
Huh?
Mrs. Bradley wrote us a bad check for her rent. We've been trying to locate her.
Did you report it to the police?
Yes, sir. I understand she's been quite active along those lines. They're looking for her, too.
For the 3rd time in one day, I was back at police headquarters, this time inquiring about a Lorraine Bradley. There were 5 wants on her for passing bad checks.
Gave it up about 4 months ago here in New York, looks like. Then we got a buzzer from Chicago. She was there for a couple of weeks. Wrote about $600 in wallpaper. San Francisco people are looking for her, too. Here's something came in yesterday. Last job in Santa Barbara 3 days ago.
Expense account item 11, $4.05. 1 long-distance phone call to Mr. Steele at Eastern Trust in Hartford.
Using the name Bradley, huh?
Yeah, it's probably just a phony. No record of a marriage in New York City to anyone that name. I looked.
What's wrong with her, anyhow?
I don't know.
Well, you better get out to the coast and find out.
Item 12, $38, hotel, board, and miscellaneous while in New York City. Item 13, $258.60, New York to Santa Barbara. A little town by the Pacific that impressed me as not caring one thing about the rest of the world. Sun, sea, a pleasantly crowded harbor, some sprawling hotels, 2 lush green golf courses, and acres of smug, expensive homes. At the police station, a Sergeant Martin was out, so I went over to the harbor inn to meet the latest victim of Lorraine Broderick's talents, a hotel operator named Harrington. Tall, gray-haired, slack sport shirt, suntan, and sandals.
I suppose I'm avoiding this business and your questions because I still feel quite chagrined about this whole thing.
Pretty understandable, Mr. Harrington.
On the face of it, you'd think I'd been in the hotel business 30 seconds instead of 30 years, the way she took me.
Well, if it's any comfort, she's done the same thing in several cities and as many hotels.
No comfort, thank you.
She was that good, huh?
Brother, she was the best. She pranced in here as big as life, probably didn't have a nickel in the purse. What's more, for the whole 4 days she was here, she didn't break stride once. Only the best of everything.
Uh-huh. Let's see, she gave you a check for $813, is that right?
Painfully right. And I took it. No questions. Every night in the dining room, she'd order champagne, special dishes. That'd give you some idea of how she carried on.
Yeah, I get the idea.
I've seen my share of grifters and bad check artists, but she tops them all. Perfume, clothes, luggage, conversation.
Can I ask you a question?
I'm humiliated already. Go ahead.
She checked in here alone, registered as Mrs. Lorraine Bradley, Beverly Hills, right?
That's right.
Well, now, didn't it strike you as odd that a woman would check in a place like this, a resort hotel, alone, stay 4 days, and meet no one, see no one?
You're wrong. She didn't keep to herself. Became friends with at least half a dozen guests in the place. And the way she was throwing my money around, why not? She picked up all the tabs. She threw me off right from the start.
Let's talk about that. Start at the top, please.
Well, she showed up last Wednesday night in a cab loaded down with luggage. Probably wrote a bad check for that someplace.
Probably.
She came swinging into the lobby with the cabbie following her. Told the night clerk she wanted to see me. When I came down the stairs, she yelled, "Harry," ran up, kissed me, asked me how my wife was. You beat that?
No.
One of those tricks that your mind plays on you, I suppose. I actually thought I did remember her from somewhere.
Pretty good. What was her story?
She said she was on her way back from Lake Tahoe, wanted to rest up. Something about just getting a divorce, being awarded $3,000 a month alimony. That impressed me.
It would impress anyone, Mr. Harrington. Did she make up any kind of a story about where she'd met you before?
No story. But I got the impression, and of course she saw to it, that she had stopped here before. I wasn't altogether a boob. I did check her home address in Beverly Hills. There was a Robert Bradley listed there, same address she gave. Later on, I found out that he's in Europe with his wife and children.
But his name was in the book.
Oh, yes.
Say, getting back to that part about her being familiar.
That's just a good trick on her part, Dollar. I did think I'd known her from somewhere, and, well, she also arranged it so that I was too embarrassed to ask her specifically. In all honesty, I suppose I wanted to have known her.
Can you explain that?
She was about the most beautiful thing I ever saw. She walked through that door right now and told me none of this was true. I'd probably believe her.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a copy of her hotel account? I'd like to look it over.
Why?
Oh, the phone calls, mostly. Maybe she contacted someone we can trace.
No phone calls. Here. This check was drawn on a bank in Beverly Hills.
Was it personalized?
No. Maybe I should have thought something of that.
Oh, not particularly.
Well, here's this much. I can't stand to look it over. It makes me kind of sick. $813.
I spent another hour with Mr. Harrington as he distastefully covered the items on the bill she'd paid for with that bad check. Later that afternoon, I met with Sergeant Martin, Santa Barbara Police, who reported that a woman answering Lorraine's description had passed bad checks in Burlingame, Santa Maria, and Ojai, California. Expense account item 14, $102.85. Transportation to Monterey and Santa Cruz, where I interviewed two other hotel managers who had filed complaints. Their stories were pretty much the same as Harrington's, down to the pretended familiarity, the divorce, and alimony details. Item 15, $4.15. Long-distance phone call, Steele again in Hartford.
That you, Johnny?
Yeah, Mr. Steele. I've been hopping around all over the state.
Policeman in Santa Barbara called here trying to find you, a Sergeant Martin. He says he's got a line on her.
Huh?
He's done it again. Up down to Malibu Beach. The man who runs the seaside inn there found out her check was bad 15 minutes after she left. Now get started. You shouldn't be more than an hour behind her.
Mr. Steele, I'm on my way.
There'll be another intriguing episode of The Broderick Matter tomorrow.
Tomorrow, a long look at what 7 years can do to a woman's life. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by John Dawson, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, same time and station, for the next exciting episode of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
You're probably wondering why I call this a sad story. When we get to tomorrow's show, you'll know. Part 3 of the 5-part Yours Truly Johnny Dollar story, The Broderick Matter, November 16th, 1955, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for tuning in. Thank this station. Support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time you roll around. Visit our webpage, classicradio.stream, where you can stream our shows on demand, find a list of places where you can download our shows, learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can contact me there, find our social media links, and if you want to help us build this show and increase the coverage, buy me a coffee. That Buy Me a Coffee money all goes into acquiring additional collections. That's at classicradio.stream. Classicradio.stream. Talk about building a collection of your own? Talk to Ted at radiomemories.com. He has a whole list of new shows that he has gone through and he has restored to very good quality. They're available to you at a very reasonable price. Classicradio.stream and radiomemories.com. Thanks for tuning in. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.